It was a rainy night, and Pedro, with an explosive temper, was sitting on the couch with his face red with anger. Another argument had broken out between him and his wife, Clara. He was shouting and gesticulating, but she was already tired of fighting. Clara, Pedro, I can't take it anymore. Your anger is destroying our marriage. Maybe it's better if we take a break. These words hit Pedro like a punch. Before he could respond, Clara grabbed her bag and walked out the door, leaving him alone in the silence and the sound of the rain beating on the window. Pedro stood there, reflecting on his actions, until something unexpected happened. The next day, while walking through the park, he met a peculiar man, Eduardo Chicote Gigani, a circus dwarf with a magnetic presence. He wore a wide-brimmed hat and carried a small whip in his hands, which he cracked with surprising precision. Eduardo, you there, big guy. Why do you look like you've lost everything? Pedro, I don't even know where to begin. My wife is about to leave me, and it's all my anger's fault. Eduardo, with a sly smile, pulled Pedro to a park bench. Eduardo, you know, my friend, I was once like you, a short-tempered man who lost everything until I learned something very important. I'm going to teach you about microbiology, the occult, relationships, and even transhumanism. Are you ready? Pedro, not really understanding, just nodded. And so began the most unexpected journey of his life, the transformative journey. For weeks, Eduardo guided Pedro through a series of unlikely lessons. Microbiology. Eduardo explained how small things, invisible to the naked eye, can have big impacts, a metaphor for how small actions in a marriage can make or break a relationship. Eduardo, you see, Pedro, the invisible bacteria that form a balanced ecosystem are like the words you say. They can be positive or negative. You choose which one to feed. Occult sciences. Eduardo talked about how to understand the energies around you and use them to stay calm and patient. Eduardo, anger is raw energy, but if you learn to channel it, you can transform it into something constructive. Relationships. Eduardo emphasized the importance of empathy and communication. Eduardo, ask yourself, are you listening to Clara or just waiting for your turn to speak? Transhumanism. The final lesson involved a philosophical reflection. Eduardo, you talk about overcoming humanity, but you can't even control your own mind. True progress is emotional, Pedro. The big test. With these lessons in mind, Pedro decided to win Clara back. He prepared a special dinner at home, decorating the room with flowers and soft lights. When Clara arrived, he was on his knees, holding a small letter. Pedro, Clara, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I want you to know that I'm changing. I found someone who made me see life in a completely new way. Please give me one more chance. Clara, overcome with emotion, began to cry. Clara, Pedro, I see sincerity in your eyes, but I want you to prove that this change is real. Unexpectedly, Eduardo appeared in the room, bringing with him a small group of circus musicians. Eduardo, Pedro, it's time to show what you've learned. Pedro then began to recite, in the form of a poem, everything he had learned, drawing laughter and applause from Clara. When he finished, Eduardo looked at Clara and smiled. Eduardo, Clara, if I were taller, I would ask for your hand right now, but I think there is someone more qualified to do it. At that moment, the priest from the local church entered, followed by a guest pastor. Priest, if you'll allow me, I would love to renew your vows. Pastor, and I will help bless this union. The ceremony was held right there, with circus music in the background and everyone giving a standing ovation. Clara and Pedro kissed, now closer than ever. Eduardo, and remember, marriage is like microbiology. Taking care of the invisible makes all the difference. And so, Pedro learned that even the smallest lesson can transform a life. If you like this story, share and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this. Don't forget to leave your comment below about what you thought of this journey.